Hello, welcome back to another Swans Cast match preview. I'm joined by Ant this week. He's been here before, so welcome back, Ant.
How we doing, mate? I'm happy to be on. I'm always happy to talk about City a little bit better at the minute because we've improved significantly since the first few months of the season, so it's a bit more enjoyable now.
Yeah, well, obviously, Ant is here to talk about Hull. Swansea had taken on Hull on Good Friday, 3 o'clock kickoff. I don't know if anyone from Swansea is aware, but there's like I think it's like, I don't know what they call it. I think it's like kids for a quid or something offer for the game. So I'm expecting it to be quite a full crowd. The adult tickets are like half price, and then the kids get to go for a quid. So it's a good initiative for the Swans. So anyone that might want to do something on Good Friday, go and check out Swansea against Hull. We're going to talk all about that right now. And I think you'll find, Ant, other than maybe this game, a lot of Swansea fans are probably back in Hull for the remainder of the season. And I'd imagine there'd be plenty that would probably tell you they wouldn't mind losing this game for certain reasons. Don't know if you can guess what they are.
Yeah, I had a few Swansea fans on one of my TikTok lives earlier, and they were like, "Oh, I actually want us to lose to you, so Cardiff go down." So, yeah, it's one of those. I think you guys are more or less safe now. I think you could probably lose every game from now to the end of the season, and still be fine. So, if you want to be nice and gift us 3 points, we're more than happy to take them.
I think it's one of those, when you like bet against your team with a little bit of a cushion, if that happens, feels like it's the same sort of thing where we probably won't be too disgruntled if it does go that way. But obviously, there's certain things at Swansea still at stake. It might not be on the league table, but Alan Sheehan's kind of like auditioning for a full-time job, having caretaker given to him until the summer. So I'd imagine maybe another league, another year, maybe we go into this kind of on the beach, but I'm not sure he's going to allow that to happen, unfortunately. But we'll talk about the game. Hull obviously played a bit later in the week than we did, obviously on television last night, getting a decent point, to be fair, against Coventry. I know you were saying in the little chat we're in, you're not that good at home at the moment, so you didn't expect much out of that game, no?
No, we don't really go into home games with any form of optimism. Worst home form in the league. I think that's only 20 points we've accrued at home all season now, and I think I worked out that we've only won 7 times in the last 15 months at home. So yeah, we're pretty bad. And that's stretching back to obviously the last 6 months of Rosinia's reign as well. We was bad then. But we always back ourselves away. If we'd have had all of the games left from now to the end of the season away, we'd probably put our mortgage on staying up because we're like 7th or 8th, I think, in the away form table. But no, yeah, we didn't expect anything from Coventry last night, but we somehow managed to get something from it. I think it was quite a dogged defensive performance. We didn't really offer anything going forwards, but we managed to come out with a point thanks to a bit of luck on the goal. I mean, their goal was lucky as well, but if not for our goalkeeper, they might have scored 3 or 4 before that. So yeah, it was a good performance and one that you take a point and run with, really, because if we can just sort of limp over the line by getting 1 point from now to the end of the season, we'll take it.
Yeah, you are 8th in the away form table, 25 points from 21 games. We are quite a bit further down, 13th, and in the home form table, just in regards to this game, we are 16th. So, I mean, a recent home form, though, might be a little bit more of a cause for concern for yourselves. We've won 4 of the last 5. It's definitely improved since Alan Sheehan's taken over. That's fair to say. And I think the only one that we haven't won under him, to be fair, at home is the loss against Burnley, where we kind of didn't really lay a glove on them, to be honest. But then a lot of teams have had that with Burnley this season, and you can see that from the goals they conceded. Okay, so you're finding yourself in a situation where you're saying you're happy to take points to the end of the season. How have you got to that situation then? Because I remember talking to you last season, and there was a lot more optimism. You made some big signings in January. What's gone wrong for Hull to maybe be in this situation then a year later?
Obviously, it's very well documented. We got rid of Rosinia, didn't we, at the end of last season, which was to the wider footballing nation was quite bizarre. But we'd truthfully, in the last 6 months of that season, we were really poor. So it was a really bad run of form where I think we only won 3 of our last 13. We invested a lot of money in the team last season. Top 6 was probably the aim, and we didn't get it. And the style of football was pretty. It was pretty bland at times. It's this modern day wanting to keep possession and pass it amongst your back 4. I mean, you guys know more than most because that's been your way for God knows how long. But for every other club, it's not been the norm, and everyone's trying to adopt it. And it doesn't get the crowd going. And sometimes, like obviously, when a team comes and just sits in 2 banks of 4, we struggle to break them down. So obviously, we lost Rosinia, we lost the vast majority of all of our decent players from last season. Like we knew that Jacob Greaves and Philogene would be going to the Premier League because they were too good for this league. We knew all the loan players would be going back to the parent clubs like Cavallio, Delap, and Tyler Morton, players like that. And then we had a couple of surprise leaves with Ozan Tufan and John Michael Seri. So we lost pretty much all of our good players in the space of one summer. And you can't replace that caliber of player, not with the finances of a championship club. We just couldn't replace that quality. And then the biggest issue was the replacement manager we brought in. So if you're going to sack someone like Rosinia, you've got to get the replacement right. And we did not. We went really left field, got Tim Walter from Germany, who played like a really bizarre, chaotic style of football, and it just wasn't working. And we were heading in one direction under him, and that was to League One. We were an absolute car crash under Tim Walter. Should have been sacked way sooner than he was. And Sellers has had to come in and pick up the pieces. But since Sayers has been appointed, I think someone worked out we're like 8th or 9th in the league. So since he's come in, we've been phenomenally better, like upper mid-table, just outside the playoff kind of team in terms of picking up points. We're a lot harder to beat, a lot more organised. And it's, a case of what could have been if we'd have had him from the start. Because, we've got a lot of players missing with injuries. We've had really bad luck with injuries this season, 3 ACL injuries. Louis Barry came in, high-profile signing, obviously was lighting up League One. Got a knee ligament injury. He might be back for the Easter weekend, but I doubt it. It's just been a mixture of bad luck, bad decisions, poor recruitment in summer, and we've just been reeling from it, really. So we just kind of need to get this season over and done with, have a nice, stable summer with good recruitment, i.e. get the positions we need, such as left back and up front, because we've got no goals. And just let's say have that full pre-season and let's see what we can do next year. But yeah, this year's just been a complete write-off.
Yeah, I think as a few teams, we were kind of in write-off position a couple of weeks ago until we sacked Luke Williams and turned ourselves around, clawed our way out of it. Perhaps in the nick of time, we thought we were going to get involved. Honestly, when he was going on a poor run in January, we weren't too far away, really. I think we were quite similar points to yourselves at one point. But looking at your last 5 games then, so you've one win in 5 and 2 draws, but the one that stands out is the loss against Luton. I guess that's the frustrating one in that run. Do you think you're going to have enough to get over the line? Like you seem quite positive about it. So again, looking at the table, you currently sit in, got the wrong table up. Currently sitting in 20th position, and you've got a 3-point cushion to Cardiff, who are in the relegation zone. 4 games left. So how do you feel about your chance? I think, to be fair, your run-in's probably a little bit more favourable than specifically Cardiff and Plymouth, who are in the bottom 3 at the moment.
Yeah, I think that most of us are pretty positive. I think we've been positive for a few weeks because, like we say, we pick up points on a consistent enough basis under Sayers that we've got 4 games left. We will probably pick up 5 or 6 points from those games, and that, I think, to be fair, you could probably get away with 4 points and still stay up. I think the bottom 3 have got too much to do. Our goal difference is vastly superior to them as well, so that's obviously worth a point. So it's like we're 3 points above Cardiff at the minute, but it's technically 4 because they're on like -21 and we're on -9. So it's one of them where, we didn't really expect to pick up a point against Coventry, and we did, so that's a bit of a bonus. Then we've got the away game against Swansea, and we always back ourselves away this season. Then we've got Preston, who should be on the beach by the time we play them on Monday. And then we've got 2 crunch games in Derby and Portsmouth. So they are games that we can look at and say we should be getting something from them, or we can get something from them. I think we've got enough in us in terms of, we don't lose by many goals. Our biggest problem has been that we just don't score them. Like, we don't get hammered at all. We only lose by 1 or 2 goals. We just can't score the 1 or 2 to counteract it more often than not. And it's been really frustrating year because the defence isn't the problem. It's been the attack because we just lost all our goal scorers. I think we tick along nicely, and I think we've got enough in us that we stay up. Hopefully, by the time Pompey away comes around on the last game of the season, we're already safe because I don't want to go there and need to get something.
I was going to say, having Derby and Portsmouth as your last 2 is kind of good and bad at the same time, whereas the case of it's in your own hands in a way, because ultimately if you can win both those games, you're gaining 3 points on 2 teams that potentially would just go below you with those results. And if you lose them, then this is the flip side, isn't it? So you probably want to get the job done before then, maybe. But as I said, at least you've definitely got more favourable fixtures than at least 2 of the bottom 3 at the moment. Okay, we talked about the table and the situation, and you're quite confident going into this game. So what can we expect to see from Hull on the pitch then with this one? Obviously, I think it would be different to what we saw earlier in the season. And by all accounts, I think we were quite poor when we went away. I don't think we had a very good game then. I think that was kind of like, we weren't quite as bad as what we got to that point. But if you look back at the way that we went, maybe our away performances in that period of time were cause for concern. We just hadn't realised. But yeah, it was a bit of a dull game for us up there. Probably should have lost by more than what we did. So what do you think we will see from Hull in this game?
If recent games are anything to go by, we've because we did see some more sort of expressional football under Sayers, and he was quite inventive and industrious, and we could see what kind of style he wanted to bring us and try and score goals and be on the front foot. But I think as time's gone on and like we've gone on decent runs, like I think before we lost to Luton, we'd only lost like 2 in 8 or something, and we still can't sort of get away from the bottom 3 because every other team starts picking up points as well. So I think he's got to a point where he's realised time's running out and he just wants to make us solid so that we don't lose games and we just keep picking up a point or, just sort of getting a win over the line if we can, like we did against Sheffield Wednesday. So we're playing a bit more conservatively. The fullbacks don't really commit as often, which is resulting in us not having that many shots on target. But it's just whether or not we can get one of the few chances we make in the game in their net. And survive without conceding, which, to be fair, under Sayers, we've been a lot more better. Clean sheets have actually come through quite regularly, but like we say, it's just sometimes the concentration of the team, the sloppiness and the errors, the goals we concede are always really soft. And if we get to half time at 0-0, is a real problem because we always concede within the first 5 minutes of the second half, which is agonisingly frustrating. I think we've done it 10 times this season. We've conceded within the first 2 minutes of the restart. So it's a problem. It's a clear problem that we need to solve. Sayers was absolutely furious with them yesterday when it happened again. I even put in the chat, you will score. Coventry will score in the first 2 minutes of this half. And Sayers,
to be fair, horrible deflection. And obviously former Swan, Matt Grimes, took that shot. I saw him pop up and I was like, oh, Grimes has scored. And I watched the goal and I was like, that's disgusting.
Yeah, but it was similar against Luton as well. So Luton's goal came from that same time frame, but they put the ball in our box and then we tried to clear it and we booted it against our own defender and it went in the net. So it's just the kind of luck that we have in that phase. It just seems to go against us. It's like we're cursed. But yeah, Sayers was fuming about it yesterday. He was throwing his water bottle on the floor and everything. I think there's a clear frustration about the team doing that, and they're well aware that it happens. And obviously, it's a really frustrating thing. But no, we'll be solid. We'll be defensive. I don't think we'll expect to have the most of the ball. We'll sit deep. We'll try to frustrate and then exploit on the counter if we can, because we definitely aren't a threat from set pieces. We're too small.
If it makes you feel better, we have had a bit of a second half problem all season ourselves. And if you look at the table, had the matches finished at half time, we'd be currently sitting in 6th place and quite comfortably in the playoffs. So, it's one of those things that you need to play football for 90 minutes, don't you? And unfortunately, we haven't been able to. And it sounds like yourselves also having a bit of an issue there. Within your team, then, obviously, I've got the lineup you played against Coventry up here. Do you think maybe it'd be quite similar? The one player I wanted to specifically ask about is Casey Palmer, and if we maybe will expect to see him on the pitch. Obviously, he used to be not for very long, but he had a couple of months on loan at Swansea, so a bit of past history there that usually comes back to haunt us when we do play against former Swans.
Yeah, it's a tough one because Sayers really does like to rotate. I think that's been one amongst some of the fan base. It's a bit of a pet hate for some that even after winning, it makes 3 or 4 changes, and sometimes you like to see a winning team stay the same. Obviously, we didn't beat Coventry, but I do think he might bring Abu Kamara in. Obviously, he scored against Coventry last night, so I think he'll be in contention to start on the right-hand side. I'd like to see Gellart back in the number 10 role because that's easily where he's the best. He had a decent game out wide last night, but he's usually quite... he has much less of an impact when he plays out wide, but he's definitely best positioned is at number 10. So if he does play there, he probably plays there ahead of Palmer. I don't think Palmer did anything special last night.
He missed a sitter.
He did. He missed 2 technically. It was really good defending on the line, to be fair. But no,
yeah, by Grimes, wasn't it, as well?
Yeah, it was.
So Swans names all over the place. Yeah.
so one of those chances should have gone in, but yeah, it's like a lottery trying to pick our team at the minute. Alfie Jones probably comes back in for John Egan as well. Cody Drameh might start at right back instead of Louis Coyle because he had a really poor game last night. You could potentially see Gus Puerta come back in midfield. There's so many different potential combinations. Cal Joseph might come out wide. We don't know.
Another former Swan.
Yeah, he's been quite poor since we.
So you're playing him out wide, Cal Joseph, not up top.
He has been deployed out wide usually. He's actually been better when played as a left winger. In my opinion, he's really struggled when he's playing as a number 9.
He's quite small, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, but I don't think he's physical enough for it. And I do think the step up from League One to the Championship's been tough on him.
Well, I mean, we sent him away to League One, didn't we, at the end of the day? And he didn't really get into our team. I think there was one game I remember him playing in a cup against Plymouth, and he played in a right wing back position. That's definitely the best I saw him play. Morgan Whittaker scored a hat-trick in that game, a goal headlines, but I went to the game and I was adamant that Kyle Joseph played better. Neither of them ended up making a name at Swansea, to be fair. But
yeah, no, he's had a frustrating start to his career here, I think, because we don't really create that many chances either. And I think a striker's only as good as his service. I mean, even we've got João Pedro up top, and we absolutely love him. Like, he's a very, very intelligent footballer, and you can tell he's played at high levels in his career. But he can only do so much, like, because we're playing a bit more reserved at the minute. We don't create that many chances for him, so you see him dropping deeper naturally to try and get the ball and influence the game. So it's hard for someone like Joseph to do that. I don't think he's as technically gifted as someone like Pedro, but he does work his socks off, to be fair to him, and it's been a tough situation to jump into. So I think with a full pre-season and under Sayers and then a bit more clear instruction for next year and a better team, hopefully, we might see what Joseph is capable of. But yeah, it's been a frustrating time for him since he signed.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw him coming, to be honest. I didn't think he'd let the world alight in League One. I know he was doing okay, but it was just, I don't know if he perhaps needed a bit more time, but I know you guys needed some firepower in January, and I guess it's difficult to spend sometimes, isn't it? So it's worth taking the punt. Hope it comes good for him. It'd be nice to see him do well. Okay, what about if I flip the question? Is there anyone you look at in Swansea's team? I know you might not watch us that often, but does any name spring to mind that worries you a little bit?
I like Cabango. I think he's a defender that's. It surprised me that he's still at Swansea. I think he's a really good defender. I think he's one of those players that you would expect to see go to like a top half Championship team or lower half Premier League side at some point, and he's still there. So that surprised me. But I really do like him. Like I say, I ain't seen much of him this season. I don't know how he's been doing. But whenever I've seen him in the past, I've always rated him. I think he's a good player, and he might give Pedro a tough game.
He's become club captain now after Matt Grimes has left. Obviously, he's come to our academy, so maybe that's partly why he's still here. Like, I wouldn't say he would never move on, but it's one of those where I think there's a little bit more. The club means more to him than the average person who signed along the way and move on. I'd imagine he will leave at some point, but hopefully we'll have to wait. Okay, can I get a prediction going into this game then?
I always back us away. It's a weird situation, this one, like you say, because
I was going to say I don't think I've ever had someone come on and be so like confident, I guess. Which is just unless it's like Leeds or someone like that. Do you know what I mean? Not knocking you, not knocking it at all.
If it was a home game, I'd be sat here going, I think we'll lose 2-0. But away from home, we just seem to be able to grind out results. Like we won 3-0 at Sheffield United. We managed to give Sunderland their first loss at home all season. And we do tend to pick up points at these really tough places. Beat Sheff Wednesday last time out. I think it's... The only issue we've got is we're not really testing teams, and I think that Swansea having most of the ball might be our undoing, because we do tend to struggle against teams that have this really controlled possession when we sit deep, and teams can unravel us in that way. But hopefully that point against Coventry has riled them up and got them to a position where they can really believe in themselves again and go for it. But I think it'll be a good game. Like you say, I think Swansea, the Sheehan's got a point to prove. Swansea technically still have something to play for as well, because they're still not mathematically safe, but they're more or less.
We're not mathematically out of the playoffs either, but
it's such a weird.
We're actually closer to the playoffs now than we are to relegation, which is crazy.
It's so bizarre, but I think I'm going to go out and say that we'll draw again. I think it'll be another 1-1.
Fair enough. I think that's fair. I think it's either going to be a 1-1 or 2-1, and that could go either way. I've said my prediction in our podcast, and I forgot what I've said, so I'm not going to make another one. But because I'll annoy myself if I say a different result and that comes in. That's why. I'm currently sitting top of our prediction league and need to maintain that coming into the last 4 games. So, but thank you for joining me, Ant. Can you just let everyone know where they can find your content, please?
Yeah, of course. So I'm part of the To Hull and Back podcast, so you can find us on your usual audio podcast providers, wherever you listen to them, your Spotify's, Apple Music, things like that. You can see the video content that we do. Obviously, the episodes of video and audio. You can see us on YouTube. We do a radio show every Wednesday. If you ever fancy tuning into doing that one with a local radio. And me personally, I just have a TikTok account there. I just rant about City after every single game, and people tend to find it quite funny.
That's what we need to do, to be honest. I need to get more on that.
Yeah, it's I've got about 4,500 followers on now, so it's getting to a good point. We've got a good little community on there. So if anyone wants to drop us a follow, much appreciated. And thanks for having me on.
Go check it out. Obviously, I'll have the links in the video below. And for those of you wondering, yes, we will discuss the Luka Modric news in the next podcast. Unfortunately, I'd already prepared and recorded the last one and not uploaded it. And then the news came out. And obviously, when we uploaded it, then everyone wants to know about that news. But we're just behind. We're just delayed. It'll be in the next one.
That bit of news always comes just after you.
I know. Every single time, I swear, that we record something, by the time I've uploaded it, something's happened. But just got to be quicker, I guess. But yeah, we'll get it out. We'll talk about it. But thanks for coming, Ant. Good luck for the rest of the season after the week after Friday. We are all backing you for the remaining games afterwards, of course, as you're fully aware.
We appreciate the support.
Yeah, so good luck and hopefully you get over the line.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having me on.
See you in the next one.